shoving into overdrive.
Well, that song, those images from the Tom Cruise movie are staples in pop culture. Well, Top Gun is a real thing, and today we are talking the real deal, you guys. Guy Snodgrass is a Top Gun instructor and one of the most skilled fighter pilots in the U.S. Navy, directing combat jets over some of the most dangerous war zones in the world. And he did it all using the lessons he learned at the Navy's Fighter Weapons School. He reveals those lessons for the first time in his new book, Top Gun's Top 10 Leadership Lessons from the Cockpit. And Guy joins us this midday from Fort Worth. Hello, Guy. You live in North Texas, right?
I sure do, Tashara. Thanks for having me on. I'm actually a North Texas native. I lived abroad for about 25 years when I was in the U.S. Navy, but it's great to be back home.
Love it. Okay, before we get serious, I want to ask you something that we've heard. Is it true Top Gun fines aviators every time they quote the movie? If so, how much and how many times have you been fined?
That is a true story. If you are a member of the Top Gun instructor cadre, if you quote the movie or if you make a direct reference to the movie, you're going to be paying $5 as a fine. And I've got to admit, I probably were fined at least a dozen or 24 times.
Okay, you are the cream of the crop when it comes to pilots. Give us an idea what Top Gun schools are like.
You know, it's interesting. Obviously, when you are accepted to become a Top Gun instructor, they expect you to be above average with your talent in the aircraft. You have to be incredibly passionate about what you do, and you've got to have a really good personality because you're teaching the men and women who fly these fighter aircraft. The other element that I was pleasantly surprised by as an instructor is just how much emphasis is placed on teaching these instructors to be leaders. And so I learned these leadership lessons very early in my career, and they paid huge dividends throughout the remainder of my time, not only in the Navy, but in the Trump administration and while working for Secretary of Defense James Mattis.
Absolutely. Now, you've also worked with former Defense Secretary James Mattis. You just alluded to some of that. So you have tons of experience. What makes a great leader? You
know, I don't think you can say there's any one attribute that's going to make a great leader. I think it's a number of them put together. I'm a huge believer in servant leadership, the fact that you put the needs of others before your own well-being first, integrity, your character, all those are the foundation that you need to be a very strong leader. And then, of course, like in my own book, I'd start talking about some of the finer points. One thing I learned in the cockpit when I had my own in-flight emergency where my engine exploded and I was nearly killed was just the importance of staying calm under pressure. The fact that no matter what life throws your way, you just remain calm and you're going to see your way through it. So there's a lot of great lessons that I learned during my time as a Top Gun instructor. And it was great to work alongside such wonderful men and women who care about their country very deeply.
I love that to hear you say stay calm, and your situation was certainly way more intense than any of us will probably ever experience. So I appreciate that feedback. What if you, though, are a natural follower? How can you develop those leadership skills?
You know, it's funny you ask that because I would tell you when I was in high school, I had some great experiences being around good leaders, but I was incredibly shy. And it wasn't until I joined the military that I developed those leadership characteristics. So if you're a great follower, if you're just a great person, a lot of it is just being willing to accept some personal risk, to get outside your comfort zone. You know, a lot of times I'd tell the junior sailors that I led, you know, become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get outside, make new friends, make new connections, put yourself at a little bit of risk, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by the results you can achieve.
Okay, now you got a book that's full of all kind of good tips. What are a couple of the top ones that you wouldn't mind sharing with us here this morning?
Sure. I mean, we mentioned the staying calm under pressure. One of the ones that is near and dear to my heart is a chapter titled Never Wait to Make a Difference. I've seen a lot of great people with great ideas who kind of hesitate. They don't necessarily want to put themselves out there. Maybe they think they're going to get a promotion or something that's going to allow them to put that positive change into effect. And so I advocate for don't do that. You know, never wait to make a difference. Make a difference today in this very moment. So those are two of the ones that I love. I also like the fact that, and we can experience this during the pandemic, we can all relate to it, is just the importance of having a wingman, someone who surrounds you, who's willing to tell you the truth, who's willing to help you along the way. When you need someone to rely on, they're there for you. So it's everything from looking inside yourself, finding that resilience and that inner strength to making sure you have a great network of people who have your best interests at heart.
Guy, can you answer this one briefly for me? You don't have to be in the military rather, or a business setting. How can we apply your advice to just everyday life?
Yeah, I think the 2020 has been a perfect example of how you can apply these lessons. One of the number one lessons I share in the book is just anticipating problems. And we've seen this with coronavirus, the fact that it seems like there's more uncertainty around the corner. So again, so you stay calm under pressure, and then you just think down the road, what's going to happen tomorrow, the next week, the next month? How can I anticipate some of the challenges I might face? Once you start anticipating those problems, you can put controls and measures in place to ensure your success moving forward.
Okay, Guy, thank you again for your time here this morning. That book, as a reminder, you guys, is Top Gun's Top 10 Leadership Lessons from the Cockpit. Check it out. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. Again, thank you to Guy for joining us here this morning.